Hi, I'm Mark Hummel. I hope you're enjoying the Harmonica Party and the other content that we post on our channel. Now you can become part of the show for the price of a cheap cup of coffee. For $3 a month, you can help bring the blues and the stories to you. Check out our Patreon page and join us for exclusive content, early releases of episodes, and some rewards specifically for our Patreon friends. Thanks for helping us keep the blues alive. All right, welcome everyone to Mark Hummel's Harmonica Party. And I'm sitting here with Elvin Bishop and Bob Welsh. And they play together in the Big Fun Trio. And we're just going to talk to Elvin and Bob, and we're going to concentrate on Elvin's past, his future, songwriting, guitar playing, all the things that go into making music for Elvin Bishop. And you were born in California, is that right?
Yeah, my dad was in the Army, and he was stationed in Glendale, or down, by LA someplace. And it was 1942, it was during World War II. And we were there for a year or two. Then we moved back to his homeland, which is Iowa.
Oh, okay. So Oklahoma came later.
I moved to Oklahoma when I was about 10, I think.
From what I recall, you got into music as a teenager, like through the radio?
Yeah, I listened to stations like WLAC in Nashville.
Right.
Like a whole lot of, that's how a whole lot of white guys got exposed to blues.
Right.
In the 50s. And I lived in Tulsa, Oklahoma, which is on the prairie. It's basically flat.
Right.
And all the local stations would close down at midnight, and then stations from far away would come in. We could hear WLAC. And they were playing the good stuff at that time. Yeah. Middle 50s.
So what was it that caught your ear about blues back then?
I don't know. I remember the first blues tune that really got me going was I listened to, I'm sitting there, it's after midnight, I'm not supposed to be up anymore. And I had one of these big old radios, and the tubes are glowing orange in the dark, and Jimmy Reed comes on with that sharp cutting harp on Honest I Do.
Right.
I said, oh, goddamn, that's it, I'm gone.
And you ended up cutting that later, too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who were your favorites back then on the radio, besides Jimmy Reed?
I like Lightning Slim. I like Lightning Hopkins, John Lee Hooker, Muddy Waters, Wolf, guys like that.
Yeah. And then how do you end up on the guitar?
Well, I used to go to these dances when I was in junior high school. I noticed all the girls were gathered around the guitar players. I went out and got a guitar at the pawn shop, but I didn't know what I was doing. The strings are about that far off the fingerboard. I worked on it, and there's nobody in the neighborhood play guitar, nobody in my family. And I was trying to learn some chords out of a book, and I was trying to mash those strings down. I said, damn, this guitar is hard. I'll get the hell with this. And then I go back to the next dance, and there those girls were again. And I said, better get back on it.
It was female persuasion.
I think that's what does it for most guys.
I think you're right. Yeah, true. So, and then you ended up getting a merit scholarship, is that right?
Yeah.
To go to, was it University of Chicago?
I didn't know. I could basically go where I wanted to, which was a blessing because my family had no money. I knew I wanted to go to Chicago because I did know enough to realize that that's where blues was happening,
Right, so you already knew that.
And so it was between University of Chicago and Northwestern. And I didn't know the difference between them. Northwestern turns out to be
Is that Evanston?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. A suburb where there's not too much hip stuff going on, you know.
Right.
And by sheer luck, I ended up at the University of Chicago, which is
Right in the South Side.
in an island in the middle of the
Yeah.
South Side ghetto called
Right.
Hyde Park.
Right.
Within a week, I was down there with Muddy Waters, and first blues band I ever saw.
That's amazing.
Muddy Waters, Otis Spann, Willie Big Eye Smith, Pat Hare,
Wow.
James Cotton. I said, damn,
That's a pretty good story.
these blues bands are pretty good. Wow, this is great.
Yeah.
God, and like, is it true that a week after you moved there that you met Butterfield? Like pretty much like as soon
I
as you
think I met him the first or second day I was there.
Wow.
Just luck. He lived in Hyde Park.
Right, I knew that.
Yeah, he'd gone to Hyde Park High School. At the time, he didn't play any harmonica to speak of. He played guitar.
That's what I heard. Yeah.
And it took him about 6 months.
On the guitar, you mean, or the harp?
The
Oh, on the harp, right.
Yeah, when he started playing harp,
Just
it's just a natural genius.
went right through it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love the story I heard you tell about that when you first got to Chicago, you were living like in an abandoned mansion or something on the South Side.
No, it wasn't a mansion.
What was it?
Well, they pulled the same thing they did in San Francisco. They called it urban renewal.
Right.
Basically, what it was trying to get rid of the black people, you know,
Mhm.
in certain areas. So they had all these empty houses, but kind of old and beat up. And they messed up and left the electricity and the running water on.
So amazing.
Yeah.
That is so amazing.
So I just go find a good one and squat there for a
Wow.
couple of months.
That is so wild. And you're going to school at the same time?
I think this was after I got kicked out of school.
Oh, you got kicked out of school.
Not exactly kicked out,
Yeah.
but I just kind of.
Now, what was your major back then?
I started out in physics because the scholarship was sponsored by the steel company, and that sounded good to them. And I got there and I got all the way up to calculus, and then I said, I can't handle this, you know. The fortunate thing was University of Chicago was the type of school where all you had to do was pass the test. You didn't have to go to class if you could pass the test.
Really?
Yeah. So I'd just go get lost in the ghetto and hang out at Smokey's house.
So is Smokey one of the first cats that you met on the South Side?
Yeah, pretty close to some of the first, yeah.
You played a little bit with Hound Dog Taylor.
Yeah.
And I know
You did your homework, Mark.
Well, no, I've known this stuff about you for a long time. You know, one of the things I was going to say that, you know, when you came by and sat in the other day, that I just realized when I watch you play, and the fact that you like learn to play with your fingers all of a sudden, that just blows my mind. You've only been doing that like 5 years or something?
Yeah. I felt more natural. I got tired of all the licks I had with the pick, you know.
Right.
I
Sure,
said,
kind of
"I'll
changing
open it
things
and
up. Yeah.
It's more of a direct feeling.
Yeah. But that watching you play, as long as, I mean, I've been watching you play. I don't even know if you know this, but I mean, I've been seeing you play since about 1975.
Wow.
Something like that. I remember the first time I saw you, you were sitting there with Grayson Street
Yeah.
at the Keystone. And the thing about you is, and I notice this about a lot of players, there's the people that are really blues players, it's like there's just this direct line to blues that they play out of their guitar. And you got that. I think Bob has that. Rusty's got that. You guys have this thing, and it's just like a direct line into the music when you play.
I don't know exactly what that means, but it sounds good.
Well, I mean, it's just that's you are just a blues guitar player. I mean, whether you're playing rock,
That's
doesn't
basically
matter.
what I'm interested in. You know?
Yeah. And I mean, you know, the other thing is just, to me, the fact that you learn from all these cats in the South Side, like Hound Dog and Smokey, and I know Sammy Lawhorn showed you stuff early on.
Right. Otis Rush was real nice. He showed me a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
But he's left-handed, but it didn't make much difference.
Right.
It was more the
Right.
feeling of, wow, I'm sitting here with Otis Rush.
That's
This
so
is cool.
mind-boggling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You knew Magic Sam a little bit too?
Yeah. he was a real nice guy. I got to know him more so when we both got to the West Coast.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because he lived out here for a little bit,
He used to play
like 3 months or something.
in
like that.
Berkeley a lot.
Right.
The New Orleans house, you ever
Yeah.
remember that place?
Mhm.
Yeah.
And Mandrakes, I think, too.
Yeah.
You know, speaking of Sammy Lawhorn, there's a great story where Elvin showed up to a Junior Wells gig, and Junior Wells had no idea that Elvin was showing up to play.
Nobody was getting rich in those days. You were making 10, 12 bucks a night, you know.
Right.
And if somebody
That's still
offered you
odd.
15, you're gone.
Right,
you know.
right.
It's like,
That was good money back then.
yeah. And Sammy got an offer to play with Muddy on a tour down south, you know.
Oh, okay.
But he was scared to tell Junior. So he stayed in that hotel, the Del Morocco, by the Blue
okay.
Flame Club, you know.
Yeah.
And we'd sit up there and he taught me all of Junior's tunes as well as he could.
Yeah.
So he said, go down there Tuesday and play with Junior. I went down there. I said, hello, Junior. He said, hello, who are you? I said, my name's Bishop. Sammy sent me here to take his place for the next 2 weeks. Junior says, he did. And he took me in the back and tried me out on some of the tunes, and he saw that I halfway knew them. And
Right.
anyway, it's too late. He couldn't do no better anyway. You know, right then. So
Too late, baby.
I'll tell you what Junior taught me. He said, now, if you want your time to be really good, don't pat your foot like this with your toe.
Oh, interesting.
Pat it with your heel.
With the heel. Huh?
Yeah. Bob knows how to play Chicago blues a lot better than I do.
Well,
he really plays it like
I think you both play it.
I don't know. I've never been able to really get some of those parts exactly like the guys played it. You know, I just kind of
And I know
feeling.
Tucker's another guy you were around quite a bit. I remember.
I love Tuck. Yeah.
I remember seeing you with Tucker back. You guys were Tucker was doing a KPFA radio show. This was in about 1976, and you just happened to show up for it.
Yeah.
It was with Gary Silva and Derek Walker and a bunch of guys. I don't know if you remember that when KPFA
Yeah.
was upstairs
Yeah.
in Berkeley.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was obviously you guys were real tight.
Tuck's was a great musician.
He was. Indeed.
That was a sad thing when he passed away. I had dreams about him for a couple of years after
Did you?
he passed away. Yeah. I dreamed I went to his house, knocked on the door, and he came. He had his pajamas on. I said, "Oh, thank God you didn't die after all." Then I woke up and
I remember when he lived right down the road here, man.
but
I think Musselwhite was telling me that he used to stay at Tucker's house when he first came out here too.
oh yeah,
yeah,
yeah, could be.
Sure. How did you go? Now you joined Butterfield in, was it 63 or 64, something like that?
Yeah.
So when you guys first came out here, I mean, it seems to me that Butterfield Blues Band was really kind of this earth-shaking thing on the West Coast, because basically all the hippie bands were here, and then you guys made it to the Avalon and then the Fillmore.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like the musicians out here weren't really prepared for what you guys could do, in the sense of that you were much more advanced musically.
Blues musicians were expected to have a certain amount of technique and sophistication in their playing. And I think the rock music out here came sort of more directly from folk music,
True.
where you just strum.
That's a good
instead
point.
Instead of
Good
playing
point,
on it.
yeah. But I mean, it seems like, you guys really started something, I think, by coming out here and playing for Bill Graham, and then eventually you guys, I assume, toured all over the States a
Yeah.
certain amount. I don't know how much.
Well, when the Butterfield Band first went on the road, they didn't know what the hell to do with us, because there wasn't
Right,
an established circuit for this type of thing,
right.
One got established in the next couple of years, but they'd try us in a jazz club one time, and maybe a university next week, and then a club in the ghetto next week, They didn't know what the hell to do with us.
And did you have a booking agency? Is that how you getting gigs, or were
Yeah,
they just calling him up?
he had a manager, this guy, Albert Grossman.
Oh, Grossman.
yeah,
right.
yeah. And he kind of, I don't had something to do with the booking. I didn't even know what a booking agent was at the time.
Right.
But half the time we'd have to stay in the black part of town because
you had black guys in the band.
yeah, they would not. This was before civil rights.
Right. You guys started as a quartet, and I have to say, and I know Musselwhite kind of said the same thing. He goes, you know, I kind of like the quartet the best. so
He does Musselwhite almost as good as you, Bob.
And it seemed like when you guys were doing the quartet, it was much more of a kind of classic blues band kind of thing that you were doing.
Yeah.
Like Walter covers and...
I don't think it maybe would have crossed over quite so strong if
Right.
Bloomfield hadn't been in it, though.
Right.
Because he had that kind of, it's sort of the same reason Joe Bonamassa is.
Right,
really
it's like
real
the extra
popular
push,
now.
yeah.
But,
Very flashy.
which ain't my cup of tea, but.
Right. Well, that's why I dug your playing back then, because it was like, I heard that record, it's actually on here, that Rare Gems record.
Yeah,
And you playing with Billy Boy and Cotton.
right.
And I heard you playing on that, and I went, wow, he really knows that stuff. And it really impressed me.
I always thought that the more, where Butterfield really had his strongest thing was when he stayed in the blues format.
Right.
And the more he spread out from that, he kind of lost strength. it
Yeah,
seemed like.
no, I can dig that. Yeah. And I mean, the one thing I think about Butterfield is just he had a real strength for covering a lot of different ground in the band. That, you know, he played, you know, he would do R&B, he would do hardcore blues, he would do, you know, New
Yeah.
Orleans R&B, you know, you might do a Percy Mayfield song or something like that. And that he featured guys. And that was another thing I thought was really cool.
Well,
You know.
that a lot of that comes from playing 5 or 6 shows a night.
Right.
It's the same reason that the level of musicianship was high in Chicago, because I don't care if you're Muddy Waters or who you are, when it gets 2 o'clock in the morning, it stays open until 4 or 5. You're glad to see anybody come and help you. It's like an employment agency. You go and sit in with somebody, you want to make a good showing, so you learn their tunes.
Right.
So you end up learning a lot of different tunes.
Right.
And
that's great for musicians, obviously.
yeah.
Yeah. Let's take a little break here and we'll come right back.